All right, welcome to the vlog. I don't have anything specific to talk about today. Well, I do, my plans for the product, but I'm trying to stay in the habit of creating daily videos for this channel just because it helps me kind of it's just really good making YouTube videos, and making daily videos really keeps you kind of in the cycle so you don't get stage fright, I guess, when you go to record. Um, I've talked a lot about that previously, but right as I'm about to start this video, I got this notification. A new version of Java is available. Why do I have Java? What is this? Why do I have Java? Skip. If something breaks, then maybe I'll install it. Anyways. Um so yeah, basically the plan right now, I talked about this I think yesterday. Um I was really struggling with a lot of the different things I'm trying to balance in my mind for building this SaaS, and what I realized was it's really a pull between marketing and and product development. And so with marketing or customer acquisition, um, I know I can get customers. In fact, I know I can get customers profitably. The issue is I don't know that I can retain them. I don't have really enough data to know that people using the software right now will stay. And I have a lot of improvements, at least in my mind, I think I need to make before I actually feel good about onboarding, a lot of people. But anyways, I'm just going to talk about some of the changes I'm planning to make more generally when it comes to my product, some of the more specific things, and yeah. Number one is getting marketing back up. So I shut off marketing a while ago. I went on a trip, and we have some things to do. One of those is to move over to self-serve. So right now my product basically requires a demo call for me to get you set up with the product. And this approach has been okay. I've gotten plenty of feedback, and I've met my customers, and made good relationships with some of them. But also, I've lost a fair amount of customers just because I'm that bad at sales. Literally, getting on a call with me could dissuade you from using my product. So I need to go self-serve. Also, because the problem with marketing right now is that if I have 2 or 3 sales calls throughout the day, I will basically get almost nothing done on the actual product. Because to make progress on the product, especially bigger features, not just small incremental bug fixes, you really have to be locked in. That has to be your main focus. So anyways, moving to self-serve should help that, where I don't have to take as many demos. Ideally, it'd just be onboarding calls. I'm also going to start offering a free trial, where it'll be $1 for 14 days, or something like that for new customers. And that should ideally allow that self-serve to work a little bit better. I've got to set up a bunch of logic around that. And then a referral plan. I'm adding a button to the main dashboard that's going to be up here, refer and earn. And so that should basically allow me to get more referrals, because the metric I'm optimizing for right now, which I think, I'm still within that 1 to 10 grand a month range technically for this product. Even after I get over 10 grand a month, I still think the main focus is going to be on getting a net negative churn rate, because, negative churn is a really strong indicator of kind of product market fit. And so that's the goal right now. It's I have, it solves some problems that people pay for, but I really think I want it to be very solid before I start onboarding a bunch of people and putting way more focus into marketing. And so, yeah, the plan is to make some significant improvements before that. But yeah, anyways, referral will help with kind of validating that we have that negative churn. Maybe that's cheating a little bit, but whatever. Then we have some reactivation campaigns. I'm going to run some ads for like $50 a day, not too much, just like enough to kind of build up some data, test out audiences and ads, and kind of see what works. And then, reactivations of my current kind of leads. And yeah, that's really it. That's kind of the plan for this weekend. Just get a little bit of marketing back up. And then what we're going to be working on is basically this column here. Oh, I should make a video about my Notion setup. It would be like how I got to 16K a month with this Notion setup, because I used to be a degenerate, just obsessed with like making the perfect Notion setup, and I haven't fucked with this one in like over a year or something, and it just works fantastic. Like, just keeps track of everything. Anyways, the point is, you can see literally like I spent 7 hours last year. I guess it hasn't been over a year, but last year I spent 7 hours on that. So anyways, the plan is we need authentication. That's probably going to be coming this week. Should only take me, I don't know, like 12 hours, something like that. I'm planning to roll my own auth because I'm going to use high levels like user system and just kind of use like 2FA, where you get an email with a code, you type that in, you're logged in. And so that should simplify kind of authentication a lot, or just like kind of simplify the dashboard a lot for me on the development side, and put in place the final actual system for how it's going to work. And then we're also going to be working on this onboarding time to value standard operating procedure. So basically what we need to do is, like, this is a dashboard product and it's very slow for people to get their initial value, where you kind of sign up, there's no data yet, we got to pull in a bunch of data, we got to run some AI for you, and then you got to connect your ad accounts, wait for those to sync up. It could take a few days, right, to get your data actually showing up on the dashboard. And so with this, the goal is to get them as much value as possible, as quickly as possible. And so that's also going to build on our AI reporting system that I've been working on, to send them like a valuable AI kind of report within a few hours. Then there's a few kind of main features that I'm really working on in terms of the product. These are the ones I think are actually going to make me feel good enough about the product to actually start marketing the fucking balls out of it and scale this bitch to $100,000 a month. Which, now that I'm at like $16,000 a month, like $100,000 a month, it can't be that hard. I just got to keep doing what I've been doing, I'll get there. Anyways, so one of these is a custom. Actually, let me start here. So custom values and UTM parameters. I want to be able to extract that stuff and put it in the database in a really good way to query. So right now it's not tracked that closely. It's kind of in JSON-B columns. And this is going to involve cleaning up the database a little bit, but we should end up with much stronger kind of UTM parameter tracking, which should allow us to basically like create really good. So you could basically see what's my average contact quality, or what's my average close rate, or what's my average ticket value by some arbitrary UTM parameter. I mean, it's not completely arbitrary, right? It's either UTM source, UTM campaign, medium, term, keyword, one of those UTM parameters. So, but yeah, we should be able to get much better data there, and show that on the dashboard. Then, for custom insights, the goal here is to give users a way to, I'm all about kind of flexibility. I think that's going to be my big differentiator. But yeah, with this, the goal is to be ultra flexible. I've seen a lot of my competitors kind of have tools that use AI to extract like top objections that you're getting, or top services that people are requesting, stuff like that. I want to make it completely arbitrary, where you can say, I want to know for each contact, what service are they looking for, or what objections do they have, what pain points do they have, what is their situation like, and just let AI kind of pull that information out of the conversation, and then I can see in the aggregate, like, how things are performing, what objections we're having, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, in the aggregate, right? And then we're going to do a new dashboard layout. So the plan is to build in really good charts and really good statistic functionalities, and then create a new dashboard layout where you would basically have like your cockpit, is what someone suggested I call it, where you can see like today's appointments, recent AI reports, top leads to follow up with. And that would kind of be like, if you're a salesperson, that's what you're looking at day to day to know where to go and what to do. And then we would have the analytics tab where if you want, you can dive more into the data. And the goal here is actually to create custom stats, charts, and columns. So I've been using PostHog for my product to analyze a lot of the metrics that we have. And basically, the idea is PostHog is very flexible, so you can build most of what you really need. And yeah, I mean, in a lot of cases, it's kind of complicated, but the goal is to build kind of a lighter weight version of that's pretty simple to get started with, and that allows you to just view the data you need. Because right now, I mean, I'll literally show you. It's a fucking mess. So this is our analytics page, contacts. We have these stat cards at the top, which are just like total new contacts, close rate, whatever. And this is what the fetcher looks like. This file is so big. It's 44,000 lines of code. Because what I started with was this function, which was actually pretty good. So basically, you can ignore the stuff at the top. These are like, I'll explain this in a second. Jesus Christ, we have so many of these. So basically, the way it would start is we would have a query function where we pass in a date range, some filters for the page, some main filters like user, location, and then we have joins that we can add and where conditions. And then we would basically go by slug. So we would say if the metric that we're looking for is average revenue per contact, well, then our query function is going to be this function, which is basically all it does is sets up the query with the right columns and then just returns it in the correct way with the little equation there. So it would basically get our query function. Then we would create our initial where condition, our joins, and then if we had specific kind of filters, like for instance, actually I don't see where we're adding joins, because the joins are empty here. But in some cases we're adding joins to be able to join to the right tables we need for the filters. And then, yeah, it would just kind of run through these, and these are all based on the same table, so it's very simple. But what started happening was, I think initially one of my customers was like, hey, I want to be able to see the average cost per ad conversion on this page. And I go, fuck, okay. So if the stat slug is this, then we're going to ignore all the rest of the code, and we're going to run this one function for this one stat. And that worked. Then someone said, I want to see appointment show rate. And I go, okay, fuck. It's a different table. I want to see cost per booked appointment. I want to see cost per contact. Fuck. Now we have a shit ton of different columns and rows that we have to think about. And I don't even know if most of this is accurate. In fact, I think a lot of it is inaccurate. And there's just so many kind of queries here that it would take forever to diagnose. And this is not scalable, right? This is not really going to work. So the plan is to basically give people a way to create their own queries, which are going to be slightly slower, but it should be much more effective. Like, I don't know if you've ever built in the Facebook Ads Manager. What we can do is we can customize our columns, and we can create a custom column or a custom metric. And the way it works is you might select something like amount spent. Then you might do the metric we're looking for is amount spent divided by cost cost per 1 million impressions. I don't know what that would be, but they actually require you to disclose what this metric is going to be, which in this case it's dollars divided by dollars, so it's just a number. But yeah, so you kind of have to set that, which is fine because it takes some of the load off you of having to set up all the metric calculations. And so basically you just create your own formula based on the numbers that they already have in here. And that's, I think, just a beautiful way to set it up. And the plan is to make it so that customers can create their own stats, charts, and columns. We'll give them presets. That's one of the things I hate the most about like PostHog is that they kind of just throw you in there with nothing set up by default. In my opinion, you should have like you should have to delete a bunch of bullshit that you're not using, but in there you should have stuff that's really valuable that they set up for you. And so that's the plan here is we create these custom kind of configurations for people, but they can also customize it to whatever they need. And then finally, I've been trying to build this feature that's going to be like automated reports where AI can basically send you a report that would be like, hey, here's your top 10 leads to follow up with, or here's the objections you've been struggling with recently, or just like kind of alert you about outliers or anomalies or anything like that. The issue is agents aren't that smart. Either you have to use a very intelligent model, such as Claude 4 Sonnet, which is quite expensive, or it doesn't work that well, right? Just using something like Gemini 2.0 Flash, which is I love Gemini 2.0 Flash, but it's just not the best for this type of thing, where it has to like think and kind of make decisions. And so I was struggling with that, but I realized if we built this system, then we could plug this system straight into the automated reports and allow the AI to just query whatever it needs. And then it could just draw from the kind of custom chart builder and actually output like exactly what we would need, right? So yeah, that's kind of the plan here is to go ahead with these 5 things. And yeah, basically knock out all of these things as quickly as possible because once we get everything here done, then we can move on to the next phase, which is basically scaling from 10 to 100 grand a month, which is probably going to require some different things like switching infrastructure providers to be more cost effective and better able to scale. Also putting a shitload of attention into the marketing, potentially going back to kind of like requiring demos, maybe charging an upfront fee depending on what the ads end up looking like and the cost per acquisition. And yeah, ideally making kind of incremental improvements, but I think at this point we should have a really good system that allows for a wide range of users to be very satisfied with how it works. Now, this is one of those things where I'm like, I've heard that the most successful founders, like you kind of imagine, they join YC. It's like some crack 18-year-old kid, just a mega genius, and he builds $1 billion company. But what I've heard is that it's actually like 30 and 40-year-olds who end up pulling off like the most successful companies. And I think you just need some of this wisdom because what I'm basically building here is a fully basically it's like completely arbitrary where you can plug in almost any type of business and it should be able to work for you to give you kind of the data that you need. That being said, I don't know that's always the best approach. I don't know that it's always the best approach to. I don't think it's always the best approach to build just something super generic. Like if we go to one of my competitors I just found out about is Line with 2 I's. And if you see the marketing hub for healthcare, they actually basically have already what I have been trying to build that I didn't realize was a thing already. And so they capture everything, right? Conversation intelligence, analyzing stuff and then auto-optimizing ads. That was going to be potentially a feature in the future. And then, they help you kind of like follow up faster, and here's some beta feature. I don't know what this does. But yeah, they are very focused on kind of the healthcare industry, which means if you're in healthcare, this is kind of the default, right? Especially because they're already HIPAA compliant. Now, there's also another company that it hasn't launched yet, but it's founded by an agency owner. I'm an ex-agency owner, so I was kind of like, all right, I'll build this product for agencies. And then this product came out, or is coming out in August. And basically what these agencies do is they hire someone to listen to phone calls and determine for every phone call, is this like a returning customer? Did they end up booking an appointment? What happened with this lead, so that they can report back to their clients what the result of the Google ads are. It's mostly for Google ads. And so this guy was like, well, he had the same revelation basically as me, is like, we don't need to use, call listeners. We can just use AI. AI is phenomenal for this use case. And so what he built is actually insanely impressive. This is what the dashboard looks like. I just want to point out a few things. Firstly, quotes. This is very specific to kind of the home service industry, where you're quoting customers, right? Especially if you're doing it just over the phone. Then these are for inbound phone calls. So we have calls, forms, this is like inbound. And then call answer rate, calls during business hours, calls answered by. These are leads kind of over time. And then a heat map of phone calls. Yeah, and so you can see this product is very specifically built for this one industry. And so, or not this one industry, but this one kind of market segment, where it's agencies working with home service businesses. And so if you're a home service business, it's almost a no-brainer to use Crystal Insights, because they are basically built specifically for your use case. And I think if you, like in the age of AI, basically, the idea, and I think this was the idea, still is the idea, that with AI coding, you can build so quickly that it almost democratizes development, so that rather than using some system like Salesforce or HubSpot that's not built specifically for your business, you can almost just build a bespoke solution just for you that fits your needs exactly. And I don't know exactly that that's going to be the way it plays out, because products like this take a lot of work and time. But what I do think is that there's going to be a lot more kind of it actually might be less winner takes all and more kind of distributed, specialized solutions, because there's just so many market niches to fill. And with AI, you can basically build a product for a niche that wouldn't be economical. Like doing this, if we take out kind of the question of AI, like actually being able to analyze calls, this probably still would be a good product, right? But the point is, if you were just building a CRM specifically for, I don't know, like car detailers, right? That might have been like a very difficult business to start in the past, maybe not economical. You're probably not going to raise, probably wouldn't raise VC anyways. But the point is, it's very hard, and so there's either there's probably just limited solutions and they're not that good. But now with AI coding, the idea is basically, like, if there's 10,000 detailers in the US, probably like 10 of them are going to be like, you know what, I could build a better solution for this, and they'll build their own. And then you kind of just get like more specific solutions, because now those people can actually build a solution specifically for them, because AI democratizes coding so much and building. Now, that being said, I'm kind of doubting myself, I guess, that I'm building a solution that's very general. And so I've heard this quote, like, if you build for everyone, you end up building for no one, which is like kind of scaring the shit out of me, because I have a lot of different types of customers right now. And I don't know exactly that. Yeah, I have a lot of different types of customers right now, and I don't know which one is exactly going to be the best to pursue. What I do know is I like flexible software, um, and that's what I'm kind of building. So maybe that just ends up being my market differentiator where I get kind of the stragglers who don't have a solution specifically built for them. But yeah, I mean, it is becoming, yeah, it is becoming, I think, competitive. And so it's hard to focus sometimes when I'm like worried that everything. I think the number one destroyer of focus is that you think you're building something. You think basically what you're doing is a waste of time, right? That kills your focus because if I'm building it and I'm going like, no one's gonna use this. By the time I'm done, all my customers are gonna have left, and like they're gonna have to go find some other solution. It's kind of a ridiculous thought because the crazy thing is you can just keep getting customers. Like it's just even if there's a better solution out there, like you can still get customers. Even if you think there's a better solution, a lot of the times customers will just tell you, "No, I like your solution more for X, Y, and Z reason." And you, "Oh, okay." Um, but yeah, anyways, that's kind of my biggest fear at the moment, and I suppose what's gnawing at me. I think it would be really helpful to figure out like how to overcome that. And I don't know if it's like a kind of like a therapy type thing where you have to talk it out and realize that it's just like a redundant kind of fear or an irrational fear. But I think there is, yeah, I don't know. I think there's, I mean, the other thing you can do is just block it out. Like, there's a funny thing where it's basically, I think Alex Hormozy says this, and he says, losers focus on winners, winners focus on winning. So basically, if you want to lose, you can just focus on all the people around you, maybe like your competitors who are winning. But what the people who are winning are actually doing are actually just focusing on trying to make the best product for their customers. So I think that is still my goal, obviously. Um, but yeah, it can just be a little bit tough. Dude, my watch is vibrating. Why do I get notifications? I got this Apple Watch, and I was happy to have no notifications, but now I keep getting fucking notified. So I gotta turn that off. But yeah, anyways, that's kind of the video. I had some other stuff I wanted to cover, like testing out, because I have so many features planned, like custom insights. This is probably, I don't know, this is probably only like 12 hours. Like that's probably not too bad. New dashboard layout, that's probably around 12 hours off. Probably 12 hours, something like that. Custom stats, charts, and columns, I would probably say around 36 hours. And then custom values and UTM parameters, that's probably 8 hours. So altogether, like 80 hours, which is probably about a month of work because you're not focused all the time and you get interrupted by different bugs and stuff you have to fix. Oh, and then automated reports, of course. This is probably another, I don't know, 20 hours, something like that. So 100 hours of work. And, in lean startup methodology, you would go like, all right, what can I test? How can I like implement this in the smallest possible way to get feedback and like know what to build first? But I've always found so much difficulty with prioritizing and like testing things in that way. And there's probably some kind of limiting belief there where it's like, I don't think I have enough customers to really get statistically significant data. And I also kind of like am opposed to doing a bunch of work just to test out what feature to build when I could just build a feature. And I'm like 99% sure it's something I want to build anyways. So there's probably some fucking retardation going on there, but yeah, I mean, in general, I think 1 to 10, you got to make the product really fucking good. And then hopefully after that, I can just fucking scale like crazy and hit $1 billion a day in revenue. So thanks for watching the video. See you in the next one.